Welcome to this week's new book releases. These are the titles releasing on April 21st, and I do have the genres that we'll talk about separated by timestamp with an honorable mention section at the end that is smaller this week than it has been the past few. And I hope you find something that you want to pick up. But if you notice I don't mention one that you know is coming out this week, feel free to leave it in our comments down below. This week we'll start out in Romantasy with what I believe is a standalone. Thistlemarsh by Moria Corrigan. In the wake of the Great War, the world is a decidedly unmagical place for Mouse Doon. She once dreamed of becoming a fairy anthropologist, but with one telegram, her world shattered. At the Battle of Somme, her cousin's body disappeared into the mud, and her brother was left with a debilitating shell shock. When Mouse receives the news that her uncle has left her the fairy-blessed Thistlemarsh Hall, a dilapidated manor in the English countryside, she must leave her brother's side and return to her childhood home to claim her birthright. But there is a catch to her uncle's offer. If Mouse does not rehabilitate the crumbling house in 1 month's time, she will forfeit her inheritance and any hope of caring for her brother. That is a very odd stipulation. There's got to be some reason. This is obviously historical fantasy as well, set in an alternate London time period where there is fairies and magic. But I did think it fell more into the romantasy side than just historical or even cozy fantasy. And of course, there will be the fairy that shows up on her doorstep to offer a bargain to help her fix the house. Into fantasy, which majority are still in the historical vein of fantasy somehow, and also with romantic subplots. Starting out would be City of Iron and Ivy by Thomas Kent West. In an alternate London, alive with botanical magic, Ellsworth Elderwood is a thorn among roses, a bristly, scarred scholar in a world of socialites. Her sister, Persephone, is the opposite, a graceful debutante seeking a marriage that will save their family from ruin, at least until Persephone is murdered. Suddenly, the last scion of her house, Ellsworth must abandon her studies to find a wealthy husband. She is thrust into a London fueled by floromancy. Hedge witches sprout nightshade from their fingertips. Highborn ladies weave gowns from wildflowers. And a serial killer called the Reaper transforms his victims into plant-human hybrids. This is going to be a spin on the Jack the Ripper tale. I do believe in that sort of alternate London historical. And while this did try to compare it to a Bridgerton, is what I think is that all of the reviews are like the romantic subplot is a very, very subplot. They're like, it is not the main driving thing of this story. So comp titles, questionable for that one. Another historical fantasy, but think even older with Greek myths, The Witch and the Huntress by Luna McNamara. Medea possesses both witchcraft and cunning, yet she endures a lonely and constrained life under the rule of her wicked father Atheis. Atheides? I do not know how to say the Greek names, I'm sorry. When the hero Jason arrives, they strike a deal. If Medea helps him win her father's golden fleece, Jason will marry her and take her back with him to Greece. Atalanta, raised by bears, is a capable warrior caught between the wilderness and the human world, but never fully part of either. After the sudden disappearance of the woman she loves, Atalanta joins Jason's Argonauts in an attempt to find her. And Jason, a skilled diplomat but reluctant warrior, depends on his heroic companions to help him claim the golden fleece and retake the stolen throne of his father. Medea and Atalanta are among his most useful allies, but Jason soon finds that success may depend on more than he can give. So this is a retelling of the Jason and Medea myths and things. Then one that I am not sure is labeled kind of dark academia, and maybe a bit with the historical fantasy as well, but I don't think it even takes place here. It just gives that vibes. And some of the reviews were questionable on the academia side as well. Honor and Heresy by Max Francis. Roy Donsvive, the prospective heir to Donsvive Manor, cares more for philosophy than battle. However, in a society that shuns literature and promotes violence, his fate is compromised. But Roy is given a choice. He can either brave the front lines and fight the old ones, the mysterious black armored soldiers invading Northgrad, or he can investigate their identity in the Orphic Basilica, an ancient abandoned library. Roy's only companion and his partner in their investigation is Percival Atherton, a manipulative egomaniac and distractingly charming scholar who has no qualms belittling Roy. So they're forced to work together. I don't remember if it said they knew each other before this, but it does definitely say enemies to lovers or rivals to lovers because they're both trying to figure this out, which I doesn't exactly understand why that makes them rivals, but alas, and having to work together. Next up is more of an urban fantasy, Witch Queen Rising by Savannah Stevens. For New Orleans witchkin, there is no greater honor than to become the prime, chosen to rule. But the title is meant to pass between two rival houses of magic, not to the wayward daughter of the former prime who died under mysterious circumstances. As a girl, Seraphine Beru was dubbed the Tick Witch for her ability to feed on magic and make it her own. Even among those who alter fate and manipulate reality, she was a powerful outcast, feared and misunderstood by her people. Now dragged back to continue the legacy that nearly destroyed her, Fiend has her work cut out for her. She must earn the respect of her people, navigate the politics of the paranormal communities residing in her city, and heal a broken heart, all the while battling parasitic curse poisoning witchkin. Interesting prospects with that one. Oh, I don't know if this is the beginning of a series or a standalone, though. So far, I couldn't see any information for that. Into our sci-fis this week, we start with The Language of Liars by S.L. Hong. Speak another people's language, know them, become them, and discover you've destroyed them. In his training as a spy, Roy was warned, you will always be living a lie. Jumping into a Star Eater's mind in the first place requires a moment of perfect psychic connection, and he has studied all his life to comprehend their species, admires them, respects them, is reverent at the idea of being one of them, the only species physiologically capable of mining the element needed for light-year spanning space travel. The species all others crave to know more of, but who have notoriously shared so very little. The species Ro's own small civilization, with its dwindling resources and withering reach, needs to know more about. So as he's infiltrating them, he's determined that he is not going to be like the others, that he's going to be able to understand them and be one of them. And I don't know how that's going to turn out for them. Then we have The Photonic Effect by Mike Chen. The Starship Horizon's crew spent 10 years trapped across the expanse of space. Now they're finally home, only it's not the home they knew. The cluster, once a peaceful coalition of planets, has fractured in the wake of civil war. Captain Damard Kim wants nothing more than to protect her surviving crew. It's what she owes them after years of instability and terror, but in times of war, no one is allowed neutrality. And then the place where they've gotten back to, there's a mining colony thing nearby, and it is attacked, and they are kind of drug into this battle, mostly against their will, but they are a military-ish crew, I think, so they're pressed into duty, and she has to figure it out and balance that line. Then there is the RYAs. We have Morbid Curiosities by S. Haiti. Arya's life has been set for as long as she can remember. Finish high school with a bang, attend the best college she can get into, and land a prestigious biology research job. Her ticket to this dream is a one-year program at the Elizabethan Institute, the preeminent organization for life sciences in the United States, currently on the cusp of revealing a major project that could transform the worlds of biology and medicine. As Araya is trying to settle into her new school with the sky-high academic expectations and research cloaked in mystery, it becomes clear that someone doesn't want her here. Because she is a scholarship student, so everybody's rich. She finds an ally, though, in Sophia, a mysterious girl who claims to be the subject of closed-door Institute experiments and begs for Arya's help in discovering the Institute's true goal. As rumors of mutilated flora and fauna in the nearby city circulate and a murder investigation rocks the Institute, Arya must navigate Sophia's growing paranoia and her own increasingly unreliable memory to determine which classmates she can trust and which would rather see her dead. Then we have Gods and Comics by Kat Cho. 17-year-old junior class vice president Grace Bach has her entire future all mapped out with plans to become a doctor like her parents. But the weight of Grace's own daunting expectation leads to debilitating panic attacks that have made her a virtual outcast at school, even to her longtime friend and crush. And then Grace's grandmother passes, and she was her closest ally and friend and believed in Grace and was kind of her mom figure, as she did lose her mom when she was just a toddler. To cope with the grief of another lost, Grace starts a webcomic inspired by the Korean myths of her Halmoni used to tell her as a child. In Sun God, Grace spins the tale of the Korean god Hamsu and his love for Yor, but with a twist. The two gods are trapped in the bodies of teenagers and, worst of all, cursed to attend high school. and it goes viral. Like she sees huge success from her webcomic series. And then from this, somehow the sun god is no longer just a member of the comics. It's like it summons the real sun god in the body of a teenager to Earth. And she has to find a way to get him back where he belongs while trying not to fall for him. And he might not be the only god that shows up. Into our thrillers from that, though, we have The Caretaker by Marcus Collier. Exciting opportunity, caretaker urgently needed. 3 days of work, competitive pay, serious applicants only. Macy Mullins can't say why the job posting grabbed her attention. It had the pull of a fisherman's lure, barbed hook and all, vaguely ominous. But after endless string of failed job interviews, she's not exactly in a position to be picky. She has rent to pay, groceries to buy, and a younger sister to provide for. Besides, it's only 3 days' work. 3 days, cooped up in a stranger's house, surrounded by Oregon coast wilderness. What starts as a peculiar side gig soon becomes a waking nightmare. An incomprehensible evil may dwell in this property, and Macy Mullins might just be the only thing standing between it and the rest of humanity. And then it says, follow the rights, follow the rights. So this one is a supernatural twist with our thriller. Thriller, mystery, different sort of tale for sure. Mad Mabel by Sally Hempworth. Meet Elise Mabel Fitzpatrick, 81 years old, gloriously grumpy, fiercely independent, and never without a hot cup of tea or a cutting remark. She minds her own business in her quiet Melbourne suburb until a neighbor turns up dead and whispers start flying. Because Elise hasn't always been Elise. Once upon a headline, she was Mad Mabel Waller, Australia's youngest convicted murderer. But was she really mad or just misunderstood? Either way, she's kept her secrets buried for decades. But now, there is an adorable little precocious 7-year-old living across the street that has stickers and so many questions and no concept of personal boundaries. And as everybody's, suspecting Elise Mabel, she's out to find out what really happened on her own. And I guess we're also slowly finding out the story of what happened way back when as well. First up for our honorable mentions this week is going to be Paradox by Douglas Preston and Alethea Preston. This is the second in the Cash and Colcord series. Yep. Oh my gosh, I can't read names today. This sounds really cool. It's a sci-fi techno thriller, tech science thriller, tech thriller. One of the holiest relics in Christendom inexplicably defaced, a paranoid old prospector ritualistically murdered, a controversial exobiologist tortured and dismembered. And it's following our two characters that would have met in the first book, which was Extinction. Colorado Bureau of Investigation agent Francis Cash and partnered with County Sheriff James Colcord as they must confront an ancient, intelligent, and malevolent presence in Erebus, which is something in this Colorado Valley where they brought extinct things back to life. Like Jurassic Park never existed in this version of the world, I guess. And the group that they're facing down are bent not on resurrection, but on extinction. And then the conclusion of the prequel trilogy, I think. The Rebel and the Final Blood War by K.A. Lindy, which was the Blood Type series that came before her other series that starts with the Wren in the Holly Library. And this is a vampire romance series where vampires seem to be more in charge, maybe, of everything but our main character in this series has a very special type of blood that is valuable or supposed to be used for something. Then the fifth book of the Beasts of the Briar series, Frozen by Stardust by Elizabeth Helen. Nowhere in the Enchanted Vale is safe anymore. Sierra, the queen of the below, has threatened open war, and there are no lengths she won't go to destroy us. But she might not get the chance. We may destroy ourselves first. This is another romantasy, and I think the first book at least started out Beauty and the Beast-esque, as there's a girl that becomes trapped in a crumbling mansion. I think fairies are involved in this, and it's one of the why choose sorts. That's all I have for this week. If you know of any other ones, though, of course, feel free to drop them down below. And I hope you're finding something great to read today, and I will see you in the next one.